Hello and welcome back to the Grape Explorer. Now I'm particularly excited about today's video because I'm really living up to my name today, I think. I've actually gone out exploring and I've tried to get some wines from somewhere completely different, and that would be the country of India. Now, Indian wine in the UK is something that's just starting to become a little bit more readily available. It's only really available through online suppliers, and I was able to go out and get a couple of bottles. But before I get on to opening one of these bottles and doing a tasting, I just want to give you a little bit of information about Indian wine, about the history of the wines, and about where wine is grown in India. It's not really the first place that you would think of when you think of wine growing. You know, what we learn as we go through wine education is that wine is typically grown at latitudes between 30 and 50 degrees in the northern hemisphere and 50 and 30 in the southern hemisphere. These two bands across the globe are where wines are best grown. And of course, some of India in the north falls into that range, but the majority of the country doesn't at all. It's a particularly hot country. Temperatures can easily get up to like 45 degrees. And so how is wine appropriately grown in these countries? So we're going to take a little bit of a look at Indian wine culture first, and then we'll get on to a tasting. Grape growing and winemaking in India is actually a process that's been taking place for thousands of years. It can be traced back to the Bronze Age, when Persian traders brought this particular beverage to the region, and of course would have brought with them grapevines as well. Winemaking was widespread under British rule during the 19th century. However, phylloxera, which destroys the root of the vines, and a pest in grapes at the beginning of the 20th century, along with the government disapproval, nearly wiped out the industry. And it actually took quite a long time for the wine industry in India to recover. And it probably wasn't around the late 1970s to the early 1980s that people were then moving to that area again and were thinking about creating wines. Some of the wines that I've got here today are from vineyards that were established around that time. So where can we grow wine in India? Well, let's break it down into the north of the country and the south of the country. In the north, areas like Kashmir and Punjab are particularly popular for growing wines, whereas in the south you're likely to find them among several different sites, some of which are called Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu in the south, and I apologise for my pronunciation if I've got anything wrong there. What I've noticed is that a lot of the wines are grown at altitude to try and create something of a cooling influence to the berries and to protect them a little bit further. Like I say, the temperatures can get up to 45 degrees centigrade quite easily, and that means there's a real risk of burning the berries, burning the canopies, and really destroying the vines. There are several indigenous grape varieties available in India, some of which I've listed here. They can be used as table grapes as well as be used in wine. So some of them are harvested to be eaten. And I've got the names of them here. Again, apologies for any pronunciation issues, but we have Anna Beshahi, Arkavati and Arkasham. There are also some popular non-native grapes. Bangalore Blue is more commonly known as Isabella, and Gulabi is commonly known as Muscat. And then the Turkish grape Sultana is the most widely planted grape in India. And of course, much of that goes into creating, what we would call sultanas that we use for baking, we use for snacking on, rather than for going into a wine. A lot of international varietals are also very popular in India, and that's all I've been able to get for today. Every website that I looked at that was going to be able to supply me here in the UK, you were looking at international varieties. This is a Sangiovese and this is a Chenin Blanc. And whilst I would love to be able to try some of these indigenous grapes, it may be that I just have to be patient, or of course take a trip to India. So as I said, a lot of these wines are grown at altitudes to try and create some sort of cooling method to them. I just want to go through some of the traditional methods that are used in India when it comes to the actual grape growing itself. So the vines are often trained on bamboo and wires in a pergola style to increase canopy cover. Irrigation in this area is essential, good irrigation for the vines given the hot weather. And the tropical conditions themselves can really promote high yields, which means there has to be a lot of frequent pruning throughout the year. And actually, there isn't really a dormant period for the vines in India because the temperatures are so high. And it isn't unheard of for certain vines to produce 2 crops in one calendar year. But for now, let's get on with a tasting. This is why I bought the wines, of course. So I have, this one here is Sula Vineyards. It's the Chenin Blanc from the 2018 vintage. I'm not going to be opening this one today because I can't really drink 2 bottles in one hit. But I am going to have the Fratelli Wines Sangiovese, which comes from the Maharashtra region of India. And has been imported into the UK by a local company. So well done for them and thank you for doing that. For anyone in the UK, I got both of these from a company called Novel Wines. I'll put a link to their website below. This particular bottle says it's been made in the traditional Tuscan method at their vineyards in Alduge province. Perfectly growing conditions for the Sangiovese grape. The grapes have been gathered from their vineyards in the Motte Wadi, which has a rocky soil structure to it. So a little bit of information there about the wine. So I'm opening this one from fresh. First time ever having an Indian wine. Very excited about that. Let's see how we get on with a full tasting. Okay, I'm going to put this one here. So out of the bottle, the wine is very pale in nature. I'd say it's got a ruby core. It's got some coloration, sort of colour into a little bit more of a brick colour on the rim, but overall I'd say that this is a pale ruby in appearance. Wonderful aromas coming through. I haven't even swirled it, but the aroma intensity is medium plus. So on the nose, there's something quite earthy about it. The main fruit that jumps out is cherry. But there's actually something quite earthy about this particular wine. Sort of mushroomy, forest flory a little bit. I'd say that they're quite simple aromas. Yeah, it's cherries are the main thing that are coming through, but for me there isn't actually any other fruit characteristic that are coming through. It's actually some of the more savoury notes that are coming through stronger on this particular one. Okay, we'll give it a taste then. It's also quite savoury on the palate. Good acidity though. Really noticed that acidity straight away. But the length sort of fell away. It had nice acidity. Still got a watering sensation. Wasn't a lot of length to it though. So let's go through some of these characteristics one by one anyway. It has tannin, but they're probably medium minus the tannins. Alcohol is low. I did actually look at this one earlier and I'm surprised, you know, I've been talking today about the hot temperatures of India and you would expect therefore to have riper berries. But this one's come out quite a low alcohol content, 12.5%, which is surprising for somewhere so hot. But it may be that those canopies, those pergolas, have done a really good job. It's quite light bodied, perhaps medium minus on the body. Again, for me there isn't a great deal of finish. Taste characteristics coming through. It's all on the lighter red fruit side of things. A little bit bitter actually. Probably sort of cherry, raspberry, quite tart the cherry, and raspberries again are quite tart. I don't get any other types of aroma on the taste though. This is quite a simple wine, simple red fruits. The finish though, yeah, it's not really got the finish for me, but it is a very pleasant, easy drinking style of wine. I'm thinking about the balance. It was quite pronounced on the nose, but I don't feel I really got that on the palate. It hasn't got a very good length to me. It isn't necessarily intense or complex, but I would still say that this wine was good. It only cost me £7.99, and you know, you do have to start considering the import and the packaging and all of the things that go into a bottle. And you do have to start going into everything that from a bottle that costs just $7.99 and think about how much of the actual money has gone into the wine itself here. That's not to say it's not enjoyable, but it just makes me think that if I was to spend a little bit more, I probably could have got a lot better wine. However, having said that, and it's a good thing I'm making spaghetti bolognese today, because I think I am going to enjoy a glass of this with that, and then I'm really going to look forward to getting into the Chenin Blanc in the future as well. But that's India. You know, it's a brand new country to me, something I was really excited to get into, particularly just to be able to find the wines in the UK. Really curious to know if it's something you can get where you are. And would you like to see any other types of country as well featured on this channel? Let me know in the comments section below. I'm the Grape Explorer. I'll see you again soon. Cheers.